Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. It's Shirley with Spirit of Matter. And for the very important topic of today's discussion, I will be first honoring Procyon as the ascendant just crossed Procyon. So Procyon, as we know, is the great denucleificator of the sky. It is also the fixed star that grants favor, sweetening of conflicts, and kind of doing inner shadow work where we see where are we holding patterns that are matching to the patterns that we don't like forced upon us. For example, apartheid with Nelson Mandela, who had Sun conjunct Procyon, and he managed to abolish apartheid for as much as he could do it. I mean, you also need the people by abolishing bloodline segregation within tribal society and decentralizing the regime. Okay, not just the king from this bloodline, but decentralizing the regime. This is why he was also controversial figure within his own community, and thereby got to show apartheid as no longer relevant to the local culture. Okay, for inasmuch as he managed to do so, it was no longer possible to practice bloodline segregation without that to receive a huge kind of, hey, that doesn't make any sense for who we are anymore. Okay, another leader who had his midheaven and Saturn engulfing Procyon was JFK, and he abolished the nuclear threat in the Cuba Missile Crisis in the 1960, I think it was 62, by establishing connection, a hotline from the Kremlin to the Pentagon as of 1963. This is in line, so when you are hearing about Russia and America, or Russia and USA are big enemies, they have a hotline from the Kremlin to the Pentagon since 1963. It will perhaps shape our understanding of international conflicts or the lack of, in a more grounded point of view. And so, in reverence to Procyon, is the planet that can allow us to change from within our own societies, families, what needs to be changed so that those things that we don't like coming from the outside will no longer be matching, whether it's frequency, vibration, or just action, behavior, and culture to our culture. And the midheaven is by now at the degree where the eclipse is going to take place later today. So this is on Andromeda constellation. And Andromeda constellation is a constellation where there is the opportunity also for reconciliation, returning of kidnapped people. So abolishing kidnapping and torture, including, of course, rape. So Andromeda was saved by, I think it was, I don't remember if it, because I know Pegasus was the constellation for Algol, but it was basically kind of this deity who held Algol's Medusa Gorgon head as a talisman. While going to save Andromeda, was kidnapped and tortured from a fate of death by torture, and basically released her. Yes. Of course, unfortunately, it can also coincide with people who do torture and kidnap people, but magically we can turn to Andromeda for the abolishing of kidnapping and torture of people, not just women, and for reconciliation. So those are good planets to talk about. And now I'm going to talk about a topic that is in the spirit of this conversation, And this is the topic of abolishing child trafficking, and abolishing, yes, rape of children, as well as our economic situation. The first, I want to begin with the point two for thought. So, the planet Pluto that rules wealth, hidden wealth, rejuvenation, but also psychology, nuclear energy, cellular alternation, and basically the core of everything, is also ruling kind of like the core of the wealth and the economy. I want to emphasize that psychologically, but also in terms of the juristic system, it's possible to treat the topic of rape of children. Okay, it's rape of children is not pedophilia. Okay, pedophilia is where somebody finds a child erotic. It doesn't mean that they will do something about this, and it doesn't mean they would hurt a child. When a person rapes a child, exploits a child, even if he's not finding the child erotic, if not pedophilia, yes, he's a child sex offender. It's not, I prefer offender, okay, or rapist, because it's nothing sexual about this. And so there is a way to both persecute. For example, I think in Australia, there is a village where people who were pedophiles but also offended children live. Some of them say, if I had the chance to hurt a child today, I would hurt. They would live in this village. It's more like isolated village. They have like housing first. They have their own houses, separate houses, and they are like community there, but they are isolated. They make sure that they would not hurt children. So when we want to persecute people who are child offenders, it's possible. Not only it is possible, but it's also done. Okay, when it's desired, it's done. It's not that we have a jura problem, that we have jura juristics, okay, court problem, or we have a problem to find these people, or we have a problem to persecute these people, or we have a problem with isolating these people from society. I'm not even talking about a jail. Talking about the place that they are living in a way that is far from society, and children are not there, and they have their housing, they have their lives, but they're just really are not in the point where they are hurting children. Okay, because this is what we want to do. When we talk about juristic, it's not about vengeance, because it is because underneath vengeance is change. But if you get the change that is underneath the vengeance, you don't need the vengeance. Okay, you just solve the problem that they won't hurt children again. Very pragmatically. It's possible and it's done. When you talk about people that have, let's say, eroticizing of children, okay, sometimes they were hurt in childhood, I don't know, but even so, psychologically, there are healing models for such people. Usually what the psychologist would do is to work on enhancing the erotic range of the people who eroticize children, so that they can have good sexual relationships also with an adult who is willingly, consensually in this sex scene with them. And it's possible, even if a person got into a situation where they find, when they begin to eroticize children, this can also, by the way, happen due to commercial porn. And so a lot of people have, it happens to them. They watch this, they watch that, then suddenly they are exposed to something. If they have some sort of childhood trauma, then this can coincide. And instead of being ashamed about this, they can actually heal that and rework the erotic range to being able to be attracted to adult. Is possible, is done. Okay, so even if people have pedophilia, it doesn't mean that they have to spend the rest of their lives without having the possibility to reach a situation of willing consensual sex with adult who is willingly consensual there with them. Okay, so when it comes to psychology, when it comes to the penitentiary, okay, when it comes to isolating people, when it comes to tending to the topic of people who are offenders against children and who rape children, or people who have a problem that they only eroticize children and they cannot eroticize adults, all of these have solutions. So the problem is not that we need to understand why these people do this. It's important to understand this. For many people, it's different reasons. Or we need to, I don't know, like how will we persecute them and so on. And so it's no problem. Especially when you are pragmatic and what you want is change, okay? You dig underneath the vengeance and you find what is the desired change. Because underneath vengeance, okay, take it from Scorpio stellium, underneath vengeance, there is a desire to change. What you actually want when you're vengeful is to change. If you bring in this change, you don't have to do this through vengeance. Okay, you just tackle the underlying problem, you solve the problem, and you see you're no longer bitter, you're no longer disempowered, you're no longer anxious or shameful. Okay, so if you actually want to stop child trafficking, we can do this. Now, I want you to understand what happens financially. Okay, now why financially, a financial structure is currently the one keeping us from totally abolishing child trafficking and child rape all across the board. Okay, and this is because when you preserve wealth, you use extortion, okay, to trust people. So you say, I don't trust you just because you have nice eyes. I trust you because you did something dirty. The more dirty the thing that you did, then I have a card where I can blackmail you and I can expose you. Yes, but if you didn't do this, you would not be promoted in any field and any industry. Okay, when the Me Too came, you saw Me Too going one by one by one by one by one, and only now it's reaching hip hop. Only now. And you see that the people at the margins are the one doing the exposure, okay? And suddenly people begin to speak. You didn't hear from, let's say, Maya. And then she's like, of course you didn't hear from Maya. I understood that I could be more famous and sustain my fame. And it's not that she was not famous, but I understood that there are certain prices that I don't want to pay spiritually. It is spiritually is, to enable child rape. It's not just spiritually, it's also in this very physical world. And we need to understand that most positions are blocked from the people who don't do these things. So if you think, to get higher up the rank, to be famous, I need to work hard, I need to be talented. Yes, you do need to do that, it's true. I need to be a good person. Yes, you need to go. What do you define as good? Because you actually need to do stuff that they can extort you on. And when you are extortable, the more extortable you are, the more trusted you are. For example, when a business person puts their all entire decision making on the name of a certain trust, okay? And you think about our billionaires. I want you to think about our parents and grandparents that wanted to make sure that this apartment that they have, we will inherit this. Not in my case, yes, I don't have real estate, but this is when I started to learn about, how to become fiscally literate. Then I ran into running the things through the trust. And I was like, wait, this is a funny word, because I used to work for a credit card company. And at a certain stage, I left there because they asked us to say, let's say you have 4,000 euros or dollars purchased this month. They asked us to just say in the end of the conversation, yes, I'm setting your monthly return to 400 euros, so $400. Okay, the rest is with such interest that even the black market would say they are crazy. It's like black market. It's black market plus prime. So I was thinking about this, it's true. And the thing is, that if this was done to the average person who brings in a monthly income of average monthly, even below average monthly income, that's pretty much every one of us. If we manage to work, then you don't have to go this far. And people say, okay, they want to evade taxation, but you don't have to go this far to understand that the word trust is a very peculiar term that probably is a very liquid concept, okay? If you're aware of what a liquid concept is, basically when one word can have so many meanings, that is very flexible. But here it's incredibly flexible because obviously this trust, and what you think trust is, let's say when you date a person and you, I don't know, reveal more from yourself and you have trust with each other, okay? It's not, hopefully, it's not the same trust. Maybe Beyonce and Jay-Z have this type of trust, but will be unveiled for sure soon. They in Japan now, they're big in Japan now. Because Jaguar Wright is big in the USA. And I love the music, but I also understand that it's very difficult to nearly impossible to become it's not even public figure, but a main figure, a successful person, and manage to avoid these type of trusts. Okay, one of the basically they need to have something on you, or they need to at least believe that they have something on you that they can expose, and then of course you get more acclaimed, more acclaimed, more acclaimed. But just like these expandable children, these children sometimes are not even registered when they are born to be used as extortion. Okay, because if somebody has to do bad things to them so that they can be extorted on this card, and then you take footage of it, and then to certain levels of how much you want to expose them, you extort them. Okay, this is how it's run, and this is how people can trust that the name of, I don't know, BlackRock will be behind all of their business transactions, so they're invisible. They don't own anything. All these billionaires that don't own anything. Yes, it's not the billionaire that sold his Ferrari and became a monk, but it kind of is as well. So. First of all, he had a Ferrari, then he sold the Ferrari. Now the Ferrari is on BlackRock, but he's not on the rocks. Why? How does he trust them? How do they trust him? Okay, so how does he trust them? Is they would need to be extorted in some way. Because it's on their name, all the decisions. Tomorrow they can, very much like Switzerland, say what money? Yes, Switzerland took money from Germans and from Jews. Similarly, then they wanted to withdraw because they wanted to evade taxes. So you say, we will hide your money. They want to cash it in. They say, what money? You cannot sue them. You cannot do anything because you were hiding from the government. Yes? And so tax evasion. But yes, but but why do people do tax evasion? Because the bureaucracy of governments is usually the deal. Okay, people have a filth load of money. Some of them, yes, they are cheap, but some of them are like, it's not the problem to pay. You pay so much for a yacht, you pay so much for this, you pay so much for that. You'll pay for an accountant, okay, and you pay your taxes. And you open a fund so it will enter the fund. But the bureaucracy, if you had one number wrong, okay, they can throw you in for a number. And imagine neurodivergent people. Yeah, so this is also a problem. We want to have, whether it's taxation or whatnot, But what we don't want to have is a situation where a person would do the tax evasion, even if because they are no longer, they're just afraid. You made one mistake, your accountant made one mistake, maybe they made that mistake on purpose. Now you are restrained, you cannot travel, you cannot do business, you cannot do anything. So it's not even, I want you to understand, it's not even the money. For some people it is absolutely, but it's not even the money. Okay? It's just you really want somebody else to deal with this bureaucracy. Yes, and accountants are heutzutage, okay, up until today, not really held accountable for these things. And yes, there have to be a solution that is fair for people. Now, when you understand you have to do this masquerading, how will you trust a person that basically have all of your belongings on their name? You are allowed to make decisions with it, but they have it on their name. Okay, it's nowhere is it written that this is your as assets. Yes, you need to extort them in some way. So the only way you could trust them if they did something really, really bad, to whom? Well, most likely to children. This is where and why and how we get such situations where pedophiles are not persecuted. Where, or even not pedophiles, but people who do offenses against children. This is structurally how we get this. And the more wealth is amount, then the more such rapes and kidnappings and not registering born children for the purpose of such extortion is made. At least to be aware of this is highly important, because when we want to deal with offenses against children, or even to make it more accessible for people who, I don't know, as a result of trauma or whatnot, have eroticizing of children. Many of them don't even want to hurt children, okay? And I say this as survivor of attempts to traffic me to such rings. It took me decades to understand that this is what went on there. Okay, it was by a doctor. I was walking around the hospital, then some doctor hugged me, took me to the side. I was maybe 9 years old, even less. Fortunately, they sent my mother-in-law's child, a teenager he was, to look for me. He found me. He starts getting angry at the doctor, and the doctor tells him, "What are you interfering? Interfering in what?" Yes, fortunately, I was not kidnapped. And yes, of course, it happens to children that have some sort of susceptibility or sense. I was born with difficulty around touch. It was impossible to hold me. And then a person comes, hugs you in a certain way, so you're not even sure, because on the one hand you need touch, but you are not able to absorb touch. Okay? And so I was feeling very weird. It's like the things that are like the complexes of things that cause you to basically, it's not exactly freeze, but it's very close to freezing. And then they very quickly take you. And so until you understand what is even going on, then fortunately I was saved. But this happened to such children. I don't know why such children, where it's coming from. You know that there are all many things going energetically, but yes, it can happen to every child, of course, but yes, it's true that some children are more susceptible. So, first of all, the more we understand this, the more we understand that we need to change the way we do economy. If we gotten to the point where children don't have a childhood, some of them are born, they're registered. Okay, they're registered, and I'm sorry, they're not even registered. They're born, they're not registered. Invisible even. Okay? And they consider when these children are expandable, you understand that all the people who were with them are expandable too, whether it's leaders, whether it's musicians, whether it's everybody, the army people, Supreme Court judges, everybody. Yes? And this is how things operate more like organized crime than like society. At the heart of this is how people come to be at such loss that they don't mind using measures in war that are completely ridiculous. It goes from sacrificing people through torture with the weird belief that it's going to feed some demon and going to give them power. And yes, it's not even faith around this, is money. Underlying this supposed faith. Okay? Faith is when I do something good and I have faith that I will see good. This is faith. Okay? I give food to my cats, I have good faith that they will be nice to me. I work in the lawn, I have good faith that I'm setting intention and a solution will come to me. Yes, this is faith. This is also magic. It's also magic. I ask my nervous system, I want to be able to clean the poo off my kittens. And then I rest and I let it go and I get the energy to do that. This is faith. Okay? Maybe if we will sacrifice, 7 cows and 7 million people to the god of whatnot, is not faith. It's business. But it's not business too. Because it won't give you wealth. It would give you food that is filled with fluoride and toxins. It would give you water similarly inclined, that the water that rack your teeth. I begin to think, I'm not a religious person, when I begin to think about Jesus cursing the fig tree, I said this tree will not give good fruits. I said maybe there was fluoride in the water. These are all myths, the stories. He said, this tree, with your religion, this tree will not give good food. Yeah, it's not about Judaism, because Christianity went the same road, and Islam, I don't have to tell you. But it's the same thing that governs those things, and this is the way we run our economy. To say that I have the solutions for everything, I don't have the solutions for everything. But I do have the awareness and the point of interference that both for the sake of children having childhood, adults having sexuality that is willing consent, sexuality that's also healthier. Okay, as a holistic health practitioner, I can tell you, if you're not orgasming on the things that are nourishing for your soul and your heart and your body, then you are ruining all those three. Your body, you're ruining it. Yes. People heal their relations not just because they want to find love. Everything is relationships. It's the ability to do partnership. It's the ability to network, to progress in career, and so on. To have good, rich life experience. This is why people do it. Is spend money. Whether it's astrological reading, it's consultation, is this shamanic journeying to their birth. I also do this. Yes, I'm not exempt from that. It's a part of how I got into astrology. And the people look into their economic situation, and they believe that their wealth is on the account of another person. Now, yes, we eat food and we drink water. Yes, but we also pee and we also poop. So there is a cycle around things. Um, and perhaps we need to change our thinking. We're not such a big threat to nature as we think we are, in general. And also, we are not something that nature doesn't want, or the cosmos doesn't want here. Absolutely not. So, for sure, there are solutions. One of the great Twitter posts I saw was this: humanity will be the first to be extinct because it wasn't cost effective to save it. Okay, this is a funny joke, but when you understand that it was so not cost effective that children being born into rape and torture to be extorted cards for trust, then you understand that it's not the Jews, it's not the Jews, it's not just the Christians, it's not just is Bill Gates Muslim? Like, it changed my mind, you know, maybe he is. But he was on Epstein Island. He drugged an entire world saying this is medicine. Everybody has tremendous, horrid side effects from this medicine, including death. Okay, is he Muslim? I don't think so. Yes, and it's not also the atheism. It doesn't matter which God or the lack of you put around it. Either you cooperate with this ecosystem in a way that is benefic to you and to your surroundings, and okay with the cyclicity of life and death, or you go into those kinds of weird stuff that really exterminate not only the heart of everything living. Um, And so upon this eclipse, we really touch on all that, from our sexualities, our bedrooms, the I am, the head of the baby, Aries is the head of the baby, tropical Aries, sidereal Pisces, the cosmic waters before creation, real estate, of course, I don't need to tell you, but also oil and gas. Pluto is in an air sign. The resources, the metals, the rocks, Saturn, but also our beliefs and dogmas and fears and anxieties and complexes and taboos. Okay, it's opportune to shed light and come up with better solutions, better way to do economy, for children to have childhood and for us to have a good life. So, and yes, the astrologer's recommendation is not to go see this eclipse, but I know also astrologers who couldn't help it. So I guess it's fated for you if you go to see the eclipse. So yes, and there is a comet at the 11th that is going to be very related to what I'm talking about. It's coming between Aldebaran and Algol, which I already mentioned. So this is my daily video for you.